Welcome, investigator. Evil is on the rise. Crime is escalating. Our mission is to eliminate the crime by exposing evil, examine why it manifests, and highlight the brave souls that confront it every day. Join us as we work together to bring justice to every victim. Welcome to All Things Crime. Here's your host, Jared Bradley.
And so they had not consumed all of the sample. They had divided the filters. And so they had a section of the filter that hadn't been analyzed. And so we were able to package that up and send that to DPS, knowing that the private laboratory, which Orthram Labs is the one that was able to process that evidence for us, the NVAC filters. And so DPS was able to separate the bacterial DNA from and had enough male DNA that it was suitable to submit to enter into CODIS. And so then we have another wait where we're watching the clock and waiting to see what CODIS is going to say. And, every agency from Williamson County to Orthram Labs to the Texas Department of Public Safety, man, they were just, everyone seemed to be on their A game. We, within a matter of weeks, we got notified by them that we had a CODIS hit, and it hit against a Texas vendor file. And so we're like, okay, what does that mean? When are we going to know? And so then there's another process that has to, in order to get that result. And so they told us, it could be anywhere from, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks before we get the return from the offender file. And so then Fadi and I were like, okay, we're waiting again. And it's like every day, it's like, hey, have you heard anything? And bless our hearts, we were in it to wait for a month. We didn't have to wait a month. I think they had us results in about 2 weeks, if my memory serves me correctly. And we were given the suspect's name of Gerald Casey. And, we knew that if the suspect was still alive, he would probably, even if he was of driving age, 18, 19, 20, we're looking at someone probably in their 60s, 70s, if not 80s. And then when Detective Rizk said that we'd actually executed him in 2002, it was like, well, but the exciting part was that, they were on the right track in 1979. They had him. He was a person of interest. And, it's kind of like that hindsight. I think you mentioned it already, hindsight's always 20/20, where, that instinct and that, that good police work, and then something detracts and, we chase another avenue. But yeah, and I have shared with Detective Rizk, I have said it, around here, all my cases that I have worked and been a part of. And, this is probably my proudest police work in my entire police career, knowing that I had taken a shot at it, in 2007, I would have to wait that 14 years to get another crack at it. And then to be able to finally bring justice to a case, that, as we talked about, happened when I was 6 years old, was, that definitely was and is my greatest accomplishment so far.
Well, like I said, congratulations to both you guys and Montgomery County, Williamson County, everybody that was involved in that. So fantastic. When we first learned about it and that, our system was involved, I'm trying to think. I think what started happening was I started getting text messages, because when the story actually broke, people started sending me texts and emails and stuff saying, the news is the MVAC's all over the news in Texas, and it helped solve this 43-year-old case. And I was just like, man, that makes all of the things that we've gone through just absolutely worth it. And so, being able to finally, talk to you guys about this case, it just gives me chills, honestly, because when my dad invented the MVAC, he initially invented it for, food safety, detecting E. coli and things like that. But his mantra was always, protect our most precious resources. And primarily when the E. coli outbreak in 93 happened, the Jack in the Box hamburger, that's what really spurred the whole process, the thought process of how do you collect a better sample? And that's kind of what pushed him to create the MVAC. And then that same mentality has carried over into forensics, because who's more precious than our children? Lesia Jackson, even though she died 43 years ago, 44 now, her and her family still deserve justice. And, when you guys were able to, finally solve that case and get the results and then trace it back to, Gerald Casey, the pride and the excitement and the satisfaction that you guys feel, we feel that too. And the fact that our technology was able to be used in this, it's one of the proudest moments for us as well. And, even though my dad passed away in 2009, I know he still hears about these kind of things. And who knows, maybe he's met, Lesia Jackson up there. So it's just one of those things that thought process and just hearing about these kind of cases from, the investigative experts like you guys just makes it all the pain that we've ever gone through makes it all worth it. So just hope you guys know that we love working with investigators and law enforcement like you guys, because there's nobody that's more dedicated to finding justice for innocent victims than law enforcement. So,
well, the exciting news, because we had demoed the MVAC machine, I think shortly after the cold case unit came on, 2009, somewhere 2010, 2011, and we have put in our budget, because we know the benefit of that technology. And as all things budgeting, it's like you're asking for one more piece of equipment. And, because of Lesia Jackson, we now have our own MVAC machine. So we don't have to borrow, we don't have to call in special favors and we have the money for lab testing. That's never been our problem. It's just to the people that authorize budget, county government, that have to justify that. And, as it did hit the wire, and they do see the benefit of that. And, I'm sure Detective Rizk can give you a number, but we still have cold cases to solve. Lesia Jackson, since we've been around, has been our oldest, but there are other victims that we have that need justice. And, we can't make the run to Williamson County every time Detective Rizk gets to the next case to process this stuff. So now we have it here, and we're going to be able to just keep plugging away, and hopefully we can come on periodically and give you more amazing stories about, other victims that have finally been brought justice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm headed down there, I think, in a month.
Yeah.
It's like in February, I think, is when I'm coming down to train you guys. So yeah, I'll be able to, we'll all be able to go to lunch and share stories. It'll be fun.
Absolutely.
So yeah, once you guys get trained and you have that thing up and running, the cases will start falling like dominoes. So I'm excited to see it.
We're ready.
Awesome. Well, Detective Rizk, any last thoughts about, the future and or even this case?
I just want to add that I was confident in Sergeant Rossi's ability to get this case solved using the MVAC. We did have a hard conversation about getting to that point, but I just want to add that I was confident the whole time, and let her know that even though she was very nervous, I had full faith in the process. I knew we'd solve it.
Where did you learn about the MVAC, by the way?
I actually learned about it in a cold case class that I had taken. They had brought it up as a tool that we could use in our investigations, and talked about the solve. I believe it was up north somewhere, getting a profile of a rock. It was just that
was one of the very first. That's probably Crystal Beslanowicz up here in Utah. Yeah, that was a 1996 case, and it had been a cold case for 18 years. And the murder weapon was a couple of river rocks, that granite. in particular, and how rough and porous and sharp the edges are. So swabbing didn't yield much of anything on that one. So now, was that Joe Kennedy that was teaching that class by chance, or do you remember?
I believe so.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he was a NCIS investigator.
Yes.
And yeah. You know what? I think I remember Joe called me and he said, "Hey, I'm down here in Texas and been talking to a lot of investigators down here." And so, Joe is fantastic. His cold case classes are unreal.
It was an excellent.
Yeah, he actually, I interviewed him on All Things Crime. Well, it was like a year ago or something. I've known him for years. When we first met, we were part of the ASOC, which is like the American Investigative Cold Case Societies. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but he kind of set up the cold case unit for NCIS. So,
right.
Yeah, fantastic guy. Anyway, his classes are awesome, but there's a number of other people that are out there, not just from, getting the word out, but they're actually actively, teaching investigators what this system can do. And, it's not the golden, magic bullet, but it certainly enables people to look at cases that you weren't able to solve before. And so, sometimes it's just that one little piece that's missing. And, obviously for Lesia, that's what it was. So,
right.
All right. Well, Telly, anything else you want to add?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on your podcast and to talk about this case. I really, it's always good to share success stories and, really just leave the audience with especially other crime scene investigators and crime scene units and cold case detectives that, there is no time frame to give up. There's 43 years is, I've never heard of that, but, if we can do it under the storage conditions that we had back then, every case is worth a shot. And just knowing what tools you have in your toolbox and using those tools. And, if you don't have the technology, like having an MVAC machine, there are agencies that do. And so it's finding those agencies and reaching out to you and saying, who in my area has this? There's labs that have it. You can send your evidence to those labs and they can process. So, it's just knowing that however old the case is, there's still hope.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the record, it was 39 years for a long time. That was another Salt Lake City case. But then upstate New York actually has the record right now. It's 56 years.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Evidence that's been just being stored. And I'm sure over the years that case, just like Lisa's case, was, you pull it out once in a while, when you hear about some kind of a new technique or new technology, and you pull it out and you say, hey, let's give it a try. And then, if it doesn't work, then you put it back on the shelf and you wait for the next break. But yeah, 56 years, crazy being able to get, I'm pretty sure it was, a rape homicide, like Lisa's case, and they were able to pull DNA off of the clothing as well. So it seems that clothing, even like you said, mold is usually a problem, but again, whoever creates some of those lab processes to be able to separate, bacterial DNA and mold, and, that's usually an inhibitor. Crazy what they can do in the lab now. So, but one of the missing pieces was being able to actually pull that DNA evidence off of the DNA material off of the evidence. So that's really where the MVAC is making a dent. So love it. Absolutely love it, guys. So, hey, we'll definitely get together in a couple of weeks, or, when I head down there, and really looking forward to it. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate coming on the podcast, and I'm sure the audience is just going to absolutely love it. So
thank you.
Awesome.
All right, guys, you have a great day, and keep hammering out those cold cases.
Will do.
Okay. Thanks. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Your attention today brings us one step closer to exposing and eliminating the evil that brings crime to our communities. Hit subscribe and share this episode. Together, we will bring justice to every victim.